Relics, a modern-day fairy tale, a short horror story by Michael van der Voort. Narrated by Robin Reeds. I want to start this story in a bit of a strange way. I want to start where most stories end, or at least where most fairy tales end. So, before I get too deep into what happened, I want to tell you that Elaine and I did ride off into the sunset, and we did live happily ever after. Or at least we have, in the years since she told me. I think it's important for you to hear that. For you to know that, for us at least, for Elaine, there was a happy ending. After all the darkness. Most fairy tales begin with "once upon a time." In the case of our fairy tale, I know that time to the minute. I first met Elaine at precisely 12 p.m. on the 18th of December, 2018. By 12:30 p.m., I was madly and hopelessly in love with her. It wasn't hard to do. Elaine is the sort of person who simply attracts affection to her, though, unfortunately, as I was to learn, her past makes it very difficult for her to accept it. For Elaine had a very strange and, in my view, frankly terrifying upbringing. But before we get to that, back to my own love story. You may be wondering how I can be so specific when pinning down the date and time that we first met. Well, that's simple. I know it was the 18th of December because that also happens to be my birthday. I know it was 12 p.m. because that was the exact moment, almost to the second, that Elaine spilt her scalding hot coffee all over my brand new shirt. Despite the fact that she had wandered into the Grand Café that morning, she had somehow managed to survive the first 3 months of university as the only person in the city who hadn't actually heard of the place, or, more pertinently, of the reason why it was so famous. For, aside from being the go-to place for posing hipsters and wannabe bohemians in the city, the Grand was also famous for the feature that gave the place its name. Specifically, the enormous grandfather clock that stood against the back wall, and which, depending who you talked to, was apparently between 70 and 150 years old. Whilst its age may have been up for debate, what was certainly not was its volume, as every hour on the hour it chimed so loudly that you could feel the vibrations in the square, another student haunt 2 doors down. Whilst anyone who has been to the Grand before or had even heard of the place would have been prepared for the chimes, Elaine clearly wasn't.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?